You know what? I've been doing some research about both America and Russia, and what I've found is going to shock you. It's absolutely strange because it appears that America is adopting Russian style control systems. Let's talk about information control from open web to curated reality, because these digital IDs, these legal consequences, the state influenced media of a dictatorship is not by accident. See, America has changed so much since the last administration. Everything has basically just been set on fire, and we're going to talk about it. Let's do a deep dive in this video. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Send this to 25 people who need to see the similarities between the Russian media system and the American media system. See, America's going through something that's a little bit weird. I want to break down the Russian established media system that I believe America is somewhat copying and taking notes from. Even places like China do these super surveillance systems. State influenced media ecosystems, meaning whatever goes on CNN, Fox News, or whoever else's news has to go through what President Donald Trump is willing to put out there to the world. Then we have restricted platforms and blocked sites. Certain websites are being restricted and blocked as we speak. And then widespread use of VPNs to bypass controls. A lot of us Americans, we now use VPNs. There's a time just in 2019, 2018, where most Americans didn't even know what a VPN is. But if you're in America using a VPN so that you can have access to real media, real information, not super censored, super controlled, then that's a tall tale sign that we are acting a lot like the Russian government. Increasingly, there are legal consequences that can be derived from certain content and disinformation. The United States has a new emerging pattern: increased moderation policies across major platforms, government pressure on tech companies during crisis, especially during times of war, right? We're already seeing that certain things cannot go through YouTube. There are certain words that you cannot say about a certain nation of people that are in the Middle East. You have to be very careful on YouTube, or else you will be taken away and taken out, because these politicians lobby these tech companies so that you cannot just say what you want. And so you have the illusion of free speech without the reality of what free speech actually is, especially if it's respectful free speech, documentary style free speech, or free speech that could really help somebody who needs to understand things at a deeper level. We also have reduced organic search for non-aligned or unverified narratives, right? These are words that they just come out and say. Fake news, unverified, and they automatically make you think, oh, I don't have to trust that source. I don't have to trust that because it's not from CNN, because it's not from Fox News, but it could be from Iran's newsroom. It could be from Ghana's newsroom. It could be from Japan's newsroom. But America's media will not see it as verifiable or something that they want to share if they label it as unverified. If they say, hey, this is something we don't know if it's actually true, then that spins the narrative. You see how that twist and turn is when something about reality is trying to get out, and then they just try to shut it down, twist it, and because they know they can't shut it down. Obviously, America doesn't control the whole world. What they can do is change your perception of how you are seeing media and experiencing it. At the end of the day, we are in the pre-phase of the super hyper control system of America, where information is no longer passively accessed. It is actively filtered and edited and hyper edited and super edited and run through the AI thing. Even the AIs are super edited to be filtered before it reaches the public. Here is why this matters. Most Americans still think they're seeing the full picture. They believe in the American dream. But more and more people are starting to disassociate themselves from America, literally leaving America altogether. People who are still in America are starting to wake up and say, hey, something's off with this war. Something's off with these files. Something's off with everything that's happening right now. And you may not be able to put a finger on it, but when you know, and you can't unknow. Because in reality, they're seeing a ranked and prioritized version of reality instead of the real thing. Now let's talk security expansion, national defense, and domestic normalization. Let's think about the Russian model first. The Russian model has surveillance justified through national security. This is where, Russia, China does this as well. Lots of cameras everywhere, super surveillance. You can't talk bad about Putin. You can't do any of those things because you need national security. You need everybody in the nation to be safe, okay? Broad monitoring of communications, visible presence of enforcement structures. Now, in the United States, we have a few developments that just occurred in 2026, okay? Expanded federal focus on domestic resilience and infrastructure protection. This looks like ICE agents coming in to produce safety for the American people because you need to get all of the immigrants out so true Americans can be safe, right? Dragging people out of their homes. Then it also looks like the military being dispatched to places like Seattle, Washington, to places like Chicago to keep America safe again. And to an extent, there's a level of truth of, okay, these cities are crazy, but there's also, this is the military that is coming in to actually patrol the United States of America and increase surveillance capability via private-public partnerships. This is your private partnerships with OpenAI, with Anthropic. The military has these active contracts with these two companies and a whole lot more private companies that you may not know about, but should look into behind the scenes. Here's the key similarity between Russia and America when we think about national security. Security is being used as the primary justification for expanded oversight, aka super hyper surveillance system. The US framework is still legally structured and decentralized. However, the direction of growth literally mirrors how centralized systems evolve under pressure. Now to point number 3, we need to talk about the digital IDs. So in Russia, the digital identity and digital ID layering looks like internal passports, digital tracking systems tied to your identity, your first name, your last name, whatever other biometrics or whatever other scans they are currently doing in Russia. And access to services linked to state verification. In the United States of America, this looks like the expansion of digital ID systems. So we know America's different than most countries in the fact that it has these smaller governments that are states, right? We have all of these states, 50 states in America. And so all of these states have their own governments, their own municipalities and things of that nature, so that they can also use federal pilots to see how they're going to implement these systems. Some will fight it, some states will fight it, but some states won't be able to because this will fall under the federal part of the government. Then we have increased linkage between identity, travel, and digital systems in America. Remember, we just talked about how all of these flights are being canceled. Thousands of flights. The Chicago International O'Hare Airport is going to be basically shut down, and their operations are going to scale back a whole lot between May 2026 and October 2026. Now, that's a long time. Why couldn't it have been from May to July or May to even August? May to October. And the Chicago airport, let me remind you, is truly an international airport. And so for people who are flying out of there to go to Spain, Portugal, South Africa, Mauritius, Botswana, Thailand, wherever they were about to go, they're not really about to be getting on that airplane, and the tickets are going to increase. So we're seeing that everything is tying in to the same substance that we've been talking about. A super hyper control system, a surveillance government where only certain people are allowed to leave. This is why it's so pertinent, if you are somebody who has wanted to leave the US, that you do it quickly, okay? because October 2026 seems like it could be a type of cutoff for a lot of people, especially because we're in a wartime with oil. We don't even know what the price of oil is going to be in October 2026. It's clearly going to be much higher than it is today. And so these are things that you need to think about. Now, this is why you may want to go to www.journeywithusmove-to-africa.com/services to inquire about the Mature Adult Intensive or to schedule a one-to-one to see if it's right for you. Let's bring this all back together, because here's the global context on why it's happening right now. This shift is not random. It's tied to a global agenda that's based on three pressures. Number one, geopolitical instability. We have tensions arising in the Middle East and trade realignments. Not only the BRICS expansion, but also currency shifts that are really focused on the Chinese yuan and getting people to purchase oil in the Chinese yuan instead of the petrodollar, okay? Number two, economic uncertainty. Inflation cycles, debt pressures, and currency volatility all give us a recipe in America for economic disaster. This is why wealthy people in the West Coast are fleeing America. They're coming to places like a Seychelles or a Mauritius to store their wealth and to put their wealth somewhere else because they are tired of the American system, but they also understand that it's going to collapse very soon, like as in this year collapse. And then number three, we have technological capabilities, AI-driven monitoring, data tracking at scale, platform centralization. If you are not in tech, let me be the first to tell you, as a tech entrepreneur of 10 years, AI has a way of functioning beyond what you think is actually possible. Okay, I've been behind the scenes on these tech contracting teams for marketing operations, sales, evaluations. And let me tell you, the data that these AIs have available for people all throughout America, then they're also targeting places like India, the United Kingdom, Portugal, places like that that are like the heavy superpowers. They have a level of data that you can't even imagine. I've seen it. There's a level of tracking at scale that you just have no idea about. And so while the average person's looking at ChatGPT and they take a picture of their bedroom and they're like, okay, ChatGPT, what new decoration can I put in here? Or what can I do with this new purse? Or how can I fix my car today because something happened? That's touching very surface level on the capabilities that AI truly has. So here's the conclusion. When instability increases, system responds by tightening their control. This is not unique to Russia and China anymore. It's a repeatable governance pattern that is happening across the globe. Now, you may want to check out the link in the description because I do have a VIP day that's available for those of you who are entrepreneurs or who want to start your consulting business, because this is what makes the United States different. It's not implementing these changes through a single authority. It's actually going through corporations, number one, those huge tech platforms and tech companies, federal agencies, state level systems, and then private and public partnerships. This creates the appearance of decentralization. America's so smart, they have that wrapped up. But the outcome is similar to Russia, a coordinated system of oversight without a single visible controller, where you don't even know who's actually at the top controlling all these. I mean, eventually you're just going to find out it's an AI that's controlling all of it. So here's what this means for Americans. This is not a collapse scenario. It's a systems evaluation scenario. The key shifts that you need to watch as soon as possible are reduced control over information inputs, increased requirements for security and identity verification, higher friction in movement. We've been talking about this. Expats who want to travel, people who want to relocate abroad, and greater reliance on digital infrastructure, which is why you need to not be taken aback by this out of nowhere. You're going to have to understand AI, understand how to operate a business, understand how to create your consulting firm, understand what's happening behind the scenes. because the people who are on top of this in 2030, they're not going to live in America. They're going to have their own business that's profitable, and they're going to understand AI on a deep enough level to where they don't have to have hyper dependence on it, but they're also not blocked by not having a bit of AI literacy. It's just like internet literacy back in the 1990s. Like, whoever was like, oh, I'm not going to get on the internet, not going to learn about that, they are at a disadvantage, a huge disadvantage, because they're dependent on old systems. And I believe that you should not be one of those people. You need to honestly ask yourself this today. How dependent am I and my family on just one system? How mobile is your income actually? Like, do you only have a W-2? Are you only having one source of income? And how flexible are your residency options? I've been abroad for 6 years with my family. We have residency here in Mauritius, but then also we are US citizens. And so we have flexible residency pathways, because understand, as these systems tighten, the advantage is going to shift to those with options and not assumptions. I'll see you in the next video. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Check out the links in the description and let me know what you think of this down below. Is America becoming the new Russia and China super surveillance system?